One of the questions I get asked a lot is, should I keep my home base while I'm traveling full time? Let's explore the answer in today's episode of How to Travel Full Time. Welcome to the How to Travel Full Time podcast. I'm your host, Heather Markel. If you're dreaming of full-time travel or moving abroad, but stuck at the emotional, financial, and logistical challenges, this podcast is for you. I'll help you trade overwhelm for information that gets you from down and stuck to up and going. You can dream about the travel lifestyle, or you can live the travel lifestyle. If you're ready to live it, then let's jump in together. So you're thinking about traveling full time, yay! But you're not sure whether or not to keep your home. By home, I'm referring to whether you have an apartment, a house, maybe you have a room that you rent in someone else's house, or you share a house. Basically, any space that you're currently renting or that you own that you have your stuff in. While I can't make this decision for you, in this episode, I'm going to share some ideas on what you can consider in order to make your choice. So the first thing to think about is, how long are you planning to travel? If you're only traveling for a few months, let's say this is a sabbatical or just sort of a gap term of maybe 3 months or 6 months, maybe you keep your home. That's certainly how I started traveling. I thought I was only going for 3 or 6 months. Therefore, I kept my apartment because I had planned to return to it, find another job, and keep going. So if that's you and that's where your headspace is right now, maybe you want to keep it. However, if you're thinking about traveling for years or indefinitely or some long period of time, it might be worthwhile to look into offloading your home. Another thing to consider is, how can you offload that home, right? So, because in my case, for example, I rented an apartment. So the only way for me to keep it would be if I kept paying the rent on it, the monthly rent, and that was going to go up year over year. If you own your home, then, can you Airbnb it? Can you sublet it to somebody else? These are important considerations that may have an impact on your decision, because if you can make money while you're away on your real estate, that might also be a great idea. Are you planning to go back and forth in sort of a more part-time travel capacity, or are you going to stay on the road indefinitely? Obviously, if you are one of the people planning to do sort of a more maybe seasonal approach, or go for 2 or 3 months at a time and then you want to come back somewhere, having a home base might be a great idea. But if you're going to stay on the road indefinitely, so you're going to leave and you're not going to come back till you're done, that might be a reason to consider either getting rid of your home or subletting it, etc., depending on what you can do with the real estate that you have. What is the amount of your monthly rent or your mortgage? Those fees that you're paying every month are detracting from your travel experience. I remember when I held on to my apartment and then returned after 6 months of traveling, I now understood that the expensive rent I was paying for a New York City apartment, I could break it down into travel dollars and project a lot more travel without having that apartment. So again, the rent or mortgage that you're going to pay or not pay might play a role in this. And one thing to consider, now I started my travels in 2018, and I certainly never envisioned getting marooned in a country, which is exactly what happened to me in February of 2020 when I went to New Zealand. And I was there for basically 2 years. So at that point, I was really grateful that I had gotten rid of my apartment, because if I hadn't, then I would have had to find a way to pay rent for 2 years on an apartment I wasn't even using, which would have been a huge dent into my savings. So, just a few things to consider. Now, are you keeping a job while you travel, or are you going to be quitting or retiring? Because on the other side, if you do give up a home, you want to think about, well, how easy or difficult will it be to get another place? If you have a job, clearly, and if you're going to be renting, then clearly it's going to be a lot easier to prove, proof of income if you have a job, or if you have a business that's lucrative. But if you are quitting and doing nothing, or you are retiring, then depending on your assets, it could have an impact on how easy it is to get another place in the future. So again, something to research, look into, and consider to make your decision. Do you have someone that can get your mail? So while you're away, if you keep your home, obviously your mail can keep going to your home. But if you are not keeping your home, then you need a place for your mail to go. So, having an address that is not a P.O. box can become important while you're traveling. So if a friend or relative can't get your mail, well, your home becomes an expensive way to have a concrete mailing address. But that's something that may or may not be of value to you. Are you in love with your home? Is this the place that you could see growing old in and you wouldn't dare give it up? I mean, obviously, if you have an attachment to the home, that may very well have an impact on whether or not you give away your home or sell your home. I wouldn't give it away, obviously. Stop paying rent or sell your home if you are just really deeply attached to it. Are you traveling with kids and homeschooling? So if you're traveling with kids, obviously travel has it's expensive. It has different expenses for one person or two people. But now if you're traveling with 3 or 4 people, and you're planning to homeschool, what value does the house have for you if that's going to be your new lifestyle? And will it detract from your ability to pay for 3, 4, 5 people, however big your family is, as you're traveling the world? So from experience, age also plays a role in the willingness to give up a place. When you're younger, the idea of packing it all in, getting rid of everything, putting it in storage, and taking off seems really alluring. But when you get older and you're used to having, say, your own bed or your own adult living space, not having that to come home to can feel a little bit less alluring, let's just say. So really, it's down to when you think about, going on the road and sleeping in all of these different places and getting used to all these different things, will you want to return back to the place that you are comfortable in? If you're really in a bind and you're just not sure what to do, a great first strategy can be kind of doing what I did, right? Go take off for 3 or 6 months. See if you like the lifestyle, and then get an idea of, you'll know pretty quickly whether this is something that you're just in love with and you want to keep going, or whether when you go home, you're relieved to have that place to go back to. And maybe you realize you thought you were going to go for a year or indefinitely, but then you come back home and you realize, oh God, it's so good to be home. Actually, why don't we do something different? So that can be helpful. And sometimes you just like to lay your head on your own pillow or your own couch and use your own stuff once in a while. And that craving for familiar comfort may drive your decision. So I hope those points will help you as a starting point on considering whether or not to keep your home while you travel full time. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to leave it a review, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to the How to Travel Full-Time podcast. If you loved it, please leave a review and let us know. Make sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes. Check out the show notes for important resources related to this episode, and come visit us at travellifestylecoach.com to learn more great information. If you're ready to get started with the lifestyle, go to moneyfortravelbootcamp.com, where you can learn all the strategies to afford this amazing lifestyle. Talk to you next week.